Welcome to the full story series right here at Comicstorian, where we take some of our older videos within our playlist and turn them into a long video for you to pop on before a long drive or a study session. Today we're going to be covering the original run of Darth Vader in the Marvel Universe. And after that, he did an origin for his lightsaber, so I thought it'd be fun to take that origin for the lightsaber, put it in the front of this, and then put Darth Vader Volume 1 through 4 and Vader Down into this video. So basically, in this video, you're going to have the comic book origins of the lightsaber that Anakin Skywalker created when he became Darth Vader. And we're then going to go into 2 volumes of the Darth Vader comic book that came out when Marvel got the license to Star Wars back. Then we're going to do an event known as Vader Down, in which he battled against the Rebels. And then we're going to wrap up everything that was going on in the initial 2 Darth Vader volumes, giving you a Darth Vader full story. This takes place immediately after the ending of Star Wars: The New Hope. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Anakin Skywalker, now known as the Sith Lord Darth Vader, clenches his fist, stating,
"No, I remember the events of what happened to Padme."
He breaks free from the operating table wearing his new cybernetic suit, shouting, "No!" And he pushes Emperor Palpatine away. He then holds Palpatine in place with the Force, telling him,
"You promised that we could save her."
And Palpatine tells him, "In your rage, you chose a different path. Padme is dead, but in her death, she has given you a gift, pain. The question is now, whether you'll use the gift or will you die by it?" Vader begins to let go, stating,
"I will live."
And Palpatine tells him, "That's good." Suddenly, Palpatine begins to electrocute Vader's suit, asking, "Where is your lightsaber? Use its power and defend yourself." Vader struggles to kneel back up, telling him,
"It is lost. Lost in the fight with Obi-Wan."
Palpatine screams, "No!" And he pulls out his own lightsaber, pointing it towards Vader, telling him, "I realize that this has been a traumatic time for you, but you will never touch me with the Force again." Soon the lightsaber retracts, and Palpatine says, "Hopefully, we will not find ourselves in this position again. But right now, we have a lot of work to do. Come, there is something that must be seen." Vader follows Palpatine outside, watching the masses collect the Jedi lightsabers. Palpatine asks Vader if he knows why their blades are red, and Vader tells him,
"No, the teaching on that subject was incomplete."
Palpatine tells him, "The fools hid the knowledge that they found uncomfortable. The red saber is no different than any other, except it's been made to bleed. What is needed is the crystal inside of any Jedi saber. These Kybers are alive in their own way. Like any living thing, they can feel pain. One must pour their pain into the crystal, and with all of that agony, the crystal's light becomes a beautiful crimson, the color of rage. The masses below collect the last of the lightsabers, and they begin to burn them in the giant furnace. And Palpatine asks, 'You understand why you weren't given one of those lightsabers, right?' And Vader tells him,
'Yes, a saber of a Sith is not given, it is taken.'
Later, on the mid-rim, Vader and Palpatine land on a planet, and Vader asks,
'Why have we come here?'
Palpatine tells him that they will need to do great things together. But first, a lightsaber is needed. So we are here to seek out a Jedi and take a Kyber crystal. A vessel was also brought for you, but it appears that it was stolen." As Vader walks off, Palpatine's starship takes off, leaving him behind, and without saying a word, Vader starts to scan the ground. Once he finds the tracks of the vehicle, he begins his journey, and up ahead a pair of scavengers look at Vader's ship, laughing how it was just sitting out there, asking to be taken. But then one of the scavengers is hit with a hunk of metal, and Vader stands up with more pieces, stating,
"That ship belongs to me."
More scavengers appear and they begin to fire at Vader, but using some of the smaller pieces of metal, he shoots them through the scavengers. A few blaster shots hit Vader, and as one of the scavengers shouts that they got him, Vader force pushes him off the cliff. As the firing continues, Vader picks up one of the dead bodies to shield himself, and then he throws them at one of the last remaining scavengers. The man nervously asks, "What is it that you want?" And Vader says,
"What I want is this."
Suddenly, the sound of a neck snapping can be heard, and the man falls to the ground as Vader holds his hand out. Later, out at the Jedi outpost of Order 66, Vader flies their ship closer when he receives a transmission from an ARC fighter telling him that this is a restricted place. His presence here is unauthorized and he will change course immediately or he'll be fired upon. The ship's computer tells Vader that they can transmit the docking codes for this station. They can know that he is arriving. Vader doesn't answer and the computer then says that the ARC fighters have engaged their weapons tracking systems. With his permission, the docking codes can be sent and Vader stops the computer telling it, no, activate our weapons systems. Within seconds, the ship's cannon system comes online and Vader begins to fight and destroy the ARC fighters as he gets closer to the space station. Back in the station, the stormtroopers watch as their outside protection is shot down, and the leader shouts to everyone to get into position. Just outside of the hangar, the troopers aim their rifles at the hatch when they see the doors starting to bend and crack. Suddenly, the doors are ripped off and the troopers begin to open fire. Vader pushes some of the shots away, but some manage to get past and hit him. After looking at his shoulder where it was hit, Vader turns and pushes one of the troopers into another and pulls a lightsaber from the wall. The lightsaber activates and Vader continues to run through, tearing his way through the trooper resistance until there is none left standing. The lightsaber retracts and Vader drops it, continuing his path to the central computer. Once there, he uses the ship's computer to scan the station's archives, and the computer asks what is it that he is searching for. Vader tells him
that he must retrieve a Kyber crystal from a Jedi. With the recent purge of Jedi, locating a living Jedi has become difficult. Our hope is to find a Jedi who has taken the Barash Oath. The Barash were the Jedi who have sworn to refrain from activities related to the Order, focusing only on training with the Force.
The computer goes back to scanning when suddenly it calls out that there is an explosion coming right, and as the grenade gets closer, it begins to explode, and then it stops. It floats there and the computer says that the device did not detonate, and Vader, holding his arm containing the blast, says,
I am aware.
Two more troopers run in, shouting to Vader to get on his knees, and with his other hand, he snaps the necks of the two of them, and he asks the computer if it's completed its search yet. A few moments later, he leaves the computer room as the grenade explodes, and the computer says that it's located someone. He is unique even for a Jedi. His name is Karak, and it's been many years since he's been an active Jedi. Records show that even when he did not take part in diplomacy, training, or research. He had precisely one purpose of the Order, and that was to fight. Back over at the mid-rim sector in the river moon of Al-Dalim, Karak meditates with several metal pieces floating around him. There's a flash of purple, and Karak quickly lands, blocking the battle droid's attack, telling it, good. Some of the metal pieces begin to connect and the battle droid asks even while they fight, assembling 4 Padawan traps at once even for him is ill-advised. Karak knocks the battle droid back as the last of the metal parts connect, and he says that there is something coming, something dark. Up in the sky, Vader's ship descends downward and suddenly hit with a piece of metal that Karak was constructing. The starship begins to crash down on the ground, and the computer says that it will commence repairs immediately. They should be operational within 2 standard days, which they can engage directly. Vader tells the computer,
no, the Jedi is waiting. I wish not to disappoint him.
He then walks through the mountain pass when from behind a giant metal divider shoots out of the ground, blocking his path. Karak steps out, calling to Vader that he stinks of darkness. Was it you? Vader looks up and without answering him, starts to force choke Karak. Karak struggles but yells, no, and force pushes Vader back, breaking the grip. He stands back up, telling him, you cannot defeat me at all, but I can see the darkness resonating within you. I have but one question. Did you do it? Were you the one that killed all of the Jedi? Vader tells him,
yes.
And Karak asks, are you planning on killing me as well? And Vader pauses and tells him,
yes.
And Karak smiles, stating, ha, just as I hoped. He looks up at the sky, stating, for my transgressions, I took the Barash vow, to live alone inside the Force until my one true path is revealed to me. I now declare that my Barash is complete, for my brothers and sisters are dead and their murderer stands before me. The path is clear, and that is to end the one who brought this destruction. Karak points off in the distance, stating that this mountain is called Passival. It is a sacred place designed to test all Jedi who come here. He will wait at the summit. Come, seek him out. From behind, Vader hears metal moving and a giant hatch opens, flooding the pathway. The once dry ravine sits still with water, and then there's a rumbling on the surface. Suddenly, the water separates, and using that open path, Vader starts to climb the mountain. After a bit, though, he comes to a long stone pass, and there's a shriek that can be heard from above. A Raptoran swoops down and then another. Vader uses the Force to break them apart, but several more start to fly down and attack him. From atop the mountain, Karak watches with a battle droid, and the droid says that he will defeat the monsters soon. Shall he go ahead and blow up the bridge? And Karak tells him no. We will let this creature pass. Back below, the Raptorans start flying back, but rather than let them escape, Vader continues to destroy them. Some time passes, and they finally reach the final set of stairs, with part of his cybernetic suit damaged in the process. Karak calls out that he's almost there. Keep going, he believes in him. And Vader starts to pull the rocks from the walls, throwing them up, forcing Karak to defend himself. But one shoots by, cracking him in the head. As Vader walks up, the battle droid shouts that he will destroy the monster, and he lunges at Vader. But just as he gets close, Vader grabs the droid, ripping its arm off, throwing its body off the ledge. Karak takes out his lightsaber, clashing with Vader, telling him, I know why you're here. I can sense it. You want to take my lightsaber. Karak forces Vader to his knees, asking, how did you end the Jedi? It seems impossible, for you are weak. Vader's leg begins to spark under the pressure, and Karak goes on telling him, you could not have done it alone. There is someone else. A master. Finally, the leg snaps off, and Karak force pushes Vader off the ledge, telling him, once you are dead, your master will be next. Once that is done, the light of the Jedi will be restored. After a while, Vader begins to open his eyes only to see out of one of his lenses, and he inspects his body. The droid he tossed off begins to speak, stating that the dark side cannot stand against the light. Vader holds out his hand, struggling, and soon the droid is torn apart. The metal parts begin to attach themselves to Vader's suit until he finally has a functional arm. He sets up, taking the droid's leg, fusing it to where his leg used to be, and once complete, he stands back up. He then takes the training saber that the droid used and makes his way back towards Karak. Over at the city, Karak helps the local mechanic get his ship ready to leave, when suddenly he begins to drop all of the parts. He says no. It's not possible. I sensed nothing afterwards. Karak runs outside to see Vader standing on the city's dam, holding out the training lightsaber, telling him, come! Karak's lightsaber lights up, and with one leap, he jumps up, crossing swords once again with Vader. The two exchange blows, and then there's a blaster fire from the city's guards. They shout that those were warning shots, and both of them will cease immediately. But before they can finish giving their warning, they are all pushed off the ledge. Karak shouts, don't! Vader's arm twitches, and the guards are thrown below, but they're quickly caught by Karak. He sets the guards down on a nearby building, telling Vader, you are a monster. And Vader tells him,
yes, I am.
With one gesture from Vader, the water tank below begins to crack, and Karak asks, what are you doing? That's holding the dam together. And Karak focuses his energy to contain the tank, shouting, this is about the Jedi and the Sith. Those people are innocent. Vader tells him,
you are a fool.
And as Karak's lightsaber is pulled away, Vader tells him,
of course it is about them.
Vader then force chokes Karak, and he begs him to please just kill him, let the others live. But without Karak's support on the tank, it ruptures, and finally his neck snaps. Vader tosses his body down into the water, and within minutes, the entire city is flooded. Once Vader returns to his ship, a message from Palpatine plays, stating that once he's acquired a lightsaber, the ship will automatically fly to its final destination. Vader watches as the ship takes him to Mustafar. Here he will channel all of his pain, anger, and hate, and corrupt the Kyber crystal. He walks out of his ship and into a small cave, and he sets the lightsaber down. He begins taking it apart, and he pulls out the Kyber crystal, staring at it. Vader then steps back and begins to channel his focus on the crystal, and when the crystal pushes back, it throws Vader into the wall. He stands up and he looks around, asking, what have I done? He gets back up, reassembling the lightsaber back to its original state, and he returns back to Palpatine. Palpatine asks, were you successful on your quest? And Vader tells him,
yes.
And he shows the lightsaber, still green, like the former Jedi's. Palpatine asks him, have you made your decision then? And Vader tells him,
yes.
Suddenly, Palpatine leaps from his chair with his lightsaber. The two begin to battle, and after a few exchanges of hits, Vader swings, cutting into Palpatine's chest, and he walks out. Later, on another planet, Obi-Wan sits reflecting when he notices a presence behind him. He draws his lightsaber, but Vader tells him, wait, and he takes off his helmet. He kneels, revealing himself to Obi-Wan, telling him, please. And Obi-Wan lights up his lightsaber. Vader groans in pain, blinking and finding himself back in the cave on Mustafar. He gets up, grabbing the crystal, telling it,
no, I refuse. This is all that there is.
He channels the crystal, and Vader then starts to see everything that has brought him to this point. Obi-Wan, Padme, her death, Palpatine, all of it. Later, back in Coruscant, Tarkin begins to go over their progress on the construction, when suddenly the two guards are thrown into the glass wall behind them. Standing before them is Vader, and Palpatine smiles, telling everyone to leave. He waits for a moment and he says, apprentice. And Vader holds out his lightsaber, and as the crimson light shines, he tells him,
master.
Darth Vader isn't happy. He walks through Jabba the Hutt's palace, murdering two of the guards, demanding an audience right this second. Jabba can't believe the audacity. Vader was due to arrive tomorrow and not kill anyone. But Vader tells him,
I will return tomorrow on behalf of the Emperor. Tonight, I am here on my own personal behalf, and I will leave satisfied.
Jabba motions for the guards to fire their weapons at Darth Vader. They all fire at once, but Vader manages to deflect each and every bullet back at them. He then turns back to Jabba, and he uses his force choke. You drive a hard bargain, Vader.
Good. This is what I need.
But let's go back to where all of this started. Darth Vader is actually a man named Anakin Skywalker, and he was trained by Ben Kenobi until he killed Ben Kenobi. He then lost the Death Star to a rebel assault, and the rebels then invaded one of the Emperor's production facilities, and they destroyed it. But as they fled, he ran into a young boy that was using his old lightsaber, the one that Ben Kenobi last had. Now Darth Vader intends to find this boy. He doesn't know who he is or where he is, but he'll figure it out. The Emperor was not happy with Darth Vader's latest failure, and as punishment he has sent him back to the Outer Rim to work with Grand General Tag as one of his men and negotiate a deal with Jabba the Hutt. But just as Vader is getting these orders from the Emperor took a meeting with an interesting looking individual, and he wouldn't tell Vader what it was all about. That doesn't matter right now though, because what he personally wanted from Jabba the Hutt was bounty hunters, and he got the best at Jabba's disposal, Boba Fett. He wants Boba Fett to find this young boy. He was smuggled off the planet in a ship referred to as the Millennium Falcon. He then goes back to work for Grand General Tag, and while he despises the fact that the Emperor has placed him under this man, he does assist the Grand General in defeating various pirates, and he even finds an undercover spy, proving that he is more capable than any of Tag's other men. Elsewhere in the galaxy, on Quarantine World 3, a woman is performing one of the largest heists she's ever performed. She blows smoke to see the lasers as she sneaks underneath them. Then she hacks the wall, rewires the paneling, dodges more lasers, and then finds a droid rolling towards her. So she flees as fast as she can until she can barely make it underneath a door. Shutting the door in front of her, she breathes a sigh of relief on the other side, and then she finds herself in front of a bunch of droids ready to take her away. As they escort her away, a fighter lands in the docking bay, and out steps Darth Vader himself. He approaches the droids carrying her away, and then he slices them both in half, and he marches over to her, offering his hand to the woman as she begins to fall off the side, trying to retrieve the object that she came here for.
Dr. Aphra, I need you.
So the two of them board her ship, where she asks him, "How may I help you?"
I've recently destroyed some of your recently reactivated droids, and they impressed me.
Listening to this, she walks over and activates a protocol droid, which then comes over to activate an astromech droid, which was her sole purpose for getting the protocol droid back online, because the astromech droid is actually an assassin droid that only speaks in binary. With that fix, she turns to Vader. "What do you need me to do?"
There was a time when I had armies at my beck and call, but that time has passed. I need my own private resources.
I was supposed to be delivering these two droids and then getting my next mission. But you're my next mission, aren't you, Lord Vader? And the next after that.
I need troops of unquestioning loyalty.
Well, it's a good thing that I know about an unusual droid factory on Geonosis. How do you feel about Geonosis, Lord Vader?
I have no feelings regarding Geonosis.
Good, then we need to move. I don't want to let you down.
Why, Aphra? That would be a mistake.
As they arrive on Geonosis, Aphra sends her two droids 000 and BT deep inside the planet to see what they can find while she and Vader stay on top. As Vader waits, Aphra asks him if he's been here before, and he gets a brief memory of a young girl and a time before his suit.
Cease your probing, Aphra. I expect nothing more than compliance and silence out of you.
Deep inside the planet, ZZZ and BT are making their way down, mapping the routes as they go, until they reach a room filled with insect-looking droids. They aren't moving, and when 000 asks them for information, they say nothing. So 000 gives BT the go-ahead. And BT uses his flamethrower to burn the entire room and every droid. As they leave, 000 says to the droids, "Ha ha ha! You are on fire and also dead!" Vader and Aphra enter the room, and Aphra looks at the droids and she realizes that these are a part of the Geonosis hive mind, and the Hive Queen probably doesn't even see these as droids. And the deeper they go into the facility, the more it appears true when they find the Queen. Looking at this beast, Aphra turns to Vader. "Now for your devilishly clever plan to steal a robot womb factory off of a homicidal, broody alien queen. Do you think it's still a good idea, Lord Vader?" He doesn't even stop to reply, he just says,
"Yes."
And he leaps down into her area. He begins to cut off the Queen's limbs while she screams out and tells her children to defend her.
The Empire has taken Geonosis' past. It can't have its future.
But Vader has also brought the assassin droid, and it turns the flamethrowers back on, and it begins to burn all of the Hive Queen's children. He then uses the Force to throw the transmitter through the roof and uses the ship to lift the droid factory out of the ground, and they haul it away. Just more child's play for Lord Vader. As they enter the ship, Aphra tells Vader that he has his droid army now. So is he gonna kill her now or later? She knew her clock was ticking the moment that he arrived, and now he has his army, so he has no use for her. She votes a lightsaber through the neck because she's always had fears of being ejected into space. He looks at her, and then he tells her,
You have proven yourself resourceful. You are safe as long as I have use for you. If you try to blackmail me, you will find your plans confounded and your life at an end.
Afra looks at him in shock. You know, you can trust me, but you shouldn't. I'm a walking, talking, stupid risk. When you need to win, just please make it quick. Just then, they're interrupted by 000 because a Wookiee that Vader hired has tracked the man that the Emperor wouldn't tell Vader about.
Tell me the location of your headquarters and what task my master has sent for you.
Torture me. I won't tell you anything. Not even my name, the man says defiantly. Vader turns, and he leaves.
I do not have time, but I do have a specialist.
000 then takes over. I'm 000, and I'm looking forward immensely to torturing you today. It doesn't take long, but 000 reports to Vader that the man is named Dr. Silu 4, and the Emperor was having him build rivals for Darth Vader. The Emperor wants to replace Darth Vader. So Vader and Afra head to the top secret base, and Afra prepares the illegal boarding operation. She tells Vader, "May the Force be with you," and then mumbles to herself, "This is the greatest job of my life." Vader moves quickly. First he has 000 and BT cut down a door, and then they walk in, providing the distraction. He then cuts through the side of the ship using his side entry ship, and he lets it suck out all of the guards, and then he lands inside of the ship with his magnetic clamp boots. He marches through the ship with his droid army and his lightsaber, ordering them to crush all resistance. But things get more interesting as they enter a room with 2 humans holding lightsabers. "This isn't a test, that's Vader!" they exclaim, and they use the Force to shut the doors, leaving the androids behind so it's just them and Vader. Vader turns to the door.
That wasn't the Force. That was trickery. You are no Jedi or Sith.
But the man jumps in at Vader, telling him that's the last thing I want to be. Jedi or Sith, they're history. They battle for a few moments until Silu 4 walks out and tells them to cease. Vader is amazed that he lived, but Silu informs Vader that he isn't Silu 4, he's Silu 5. When his body didn't return, a backup was activated. So Vader changes the subject.
I was under the understanding that you were making apprentices here, but there is nothing of the Force in them.
Not apprentices, replacements. The Force is obsolete, and these are its successors, he states, motioning to his team, all of which just destroyed all of Vader's current droid army.
This is blasphemous!
And with that, Vader takes a swing at Silu 5, but then the Emperor steps out. Vader, no. You will forgive Lord Vader. You have my attention. Now show me something worthy of that attention. So Silu 5 sends all of the replacements after Vader. First up is the lizard-looking alien, which was built to not feel pain and not be concerned about it. But the Emperor isn't impressed as Vader easily cuts into him with his lightsaber, followed by a woman in control of dozens of droids at the same time, and they all fire their blasters at Vader, but he deflects them with ease, and then he blows up her droids. Next up is a commander that has been barely alive, so he's had his entire body turned into a robotic body. But even with 4 lightsabers, Vader is easily able to deflect them. This of course bores the Emperor, so Silu 5 has everyone go at Vader at the same time. The first guy jumps in to fight Vader, but Vader deflects his lightsaber away, and then the lizard man is about to go in for a bite, but another one of the replacements kills him, saving Vader. The Emperor calls an end to this fighting, so everyone stands still.
I will not forget what you did here today, boy.
Vader says to the young man, I didn't do it for you. The old model is less of a threat than the new model. But Vader turns his back to the boy.
That was my life to take, boy. You interfered.
And then Vader leaves with the Emperor. I am impressed. Gathering your own forces outside of my system?
These things are abomination. This is heresy.
You stand there more metal than man and you talk of abominations. If it were not for my open mind, you would not be here. Everything is of the Force. Do not underestimate how much you disappointed me, Vader. I saved you, but you showed how far you fell off the mark.
Silu has been training those twins for 20 years, so all of those years you were considering replacing me?
The dark side is strength. If they defeat you, then they are stronger. If you defeat them, then you prove you are. This is the way of the Sith. Vader moves back to his ship with Afra, where she informs him that they got a message from Boba Fett about this boy. Boba Fett explains that he lost track of the boy, but he did get his name, Skywalker. And then Boba Fett leaves. Vader thinks back to Padme, his now deceased wife from 20 years ago, and when she told him that she was pregnant, how happy he was back then. He then thinks back to when he became Darth Vader, and the Emperor was the one that told him that Padme died. He remembers Padme's death. He remembers the young boy capable of destroying the Death Star, and he remembers the young boy using his old lightsaber.
I have a son. I will have him. I will have everything.
Darth Vader stands on a moisture farm on the planet of Tatooine, looking at the sunset before his eyes. And Dr. Aphra, a woman in his employ, asks him, "What are they looking for? This farm is dead." He tells her that this is where the boy who blew up the Death Star lived. They go inside so Darth Vader can look at something related to the Force, something that may help him find this boy. And Dr. Aphra explains the irony of the whole situation. Imperial forces slaughtered the boy's family, and if they hadn't, he probably would never have left. The Empire would then have its Death Star and there wouldn't be a problem right now. Revenge is one hell of a motivator, she explains. Darth Vader turns around. "You are correct. Let us move on." They walk outside and drop a bomb. It goes off and Aphra says it's a molecule purge. No one will ever know that anyone was here. Then, Darth Vader leaves her there as he has other matters to attend to. He charges in with stormtroopers as they open fire on smugglers that he has tracked down. And being that he is Darth Vader, he manages to slaughter all of the smugglers before him and open the vault that they were keeping. Trillions of credits, and he orders it all to be confiscated and prepared for shipment. He then goes to the huts, where he gives them the planet's underworld, and warns them not to overstep their boundaries or they will regret it. And while Darth Vader is running errands for the local commanders of the Empire as punishment for losing the Death Star, Aphra is putting together a team. You see, while Darth Vader may appear to be following the Emperor's bidding, he is secretly plotting his own takeover, and now he needs funding. So Aphra is putting together a team to perform a heist on trillions of credits. She takes her team into space where they see the confiscated credits coming right for them, as she sets off a bomb that takes out an asteroid. The uncharted impromptu asteroid belt drifts in front of the ship carrying the credits. Then, using the cover of the new asteroid belt, Aphra and her team rocket onto the bottom of the ship where they open the hatch and they slip inside. Then they drop all of the droid guards. Meanwhile, back in space, their Wookiee pilot is getting into position and their astromech droid BT is preparing to turn on a magnetic field and catch the credits as they float by. An asteroid ruptures the side of the Empire ship and the credits begin to drift off into space, which is when BT hits his magnetic pulse and he grabs them all up. But he failed and only got some of them, causing a lot of credits to free float in space. While her gang isn't entirely happy about that, they'll cope and everyone goes their separate ways. But it turns out, Aphra and BT cheated her gang, because all of those credits that were supposedly lost were picked up and delivered to Darth Vader. They stand before their fortune, and she lays it out. Now we have a droid army, bounty hunters, money to pay the bounty hunters. What's next? Is it holiday? Because I think I'm due for a holiday. Information on someone who has been elusive. The boy that blew up the Death Star? No, someone else. Find it for me, and if you don't contact me within a month, I will contact you. And you don't want me to contact you. Then, Darth Vader leaves to report this to his commander. The commander commends Darth Vader for his action in removing the criminal organization, the Plasma Devils. He informs Lord Vader that some of the Emperor's newest potential apprentices that he met earlier will be joining them for the final assault that will end the Plasma Devils. This infuriates Vader that they would place other individuals on this matter, but he can't argue. To make matters worse, they have now given him a new assistant, Inspector Thanoth, to keep track of Vader's comings and goings. A small amount of time passes and Vader manages to drop the rebellion cell while Thanoth inspects the freighter that was shipping the confiscated money. He calls up Vader to inform him that he doesn't think that this was really an accident. It was a planned accident. And he wants Vader to accompany him to Anoth Prime, where they will stealthily work towards finding out who planned such a heist. But as they arrive, they discover a series of stormtroopers are guarding the entrance, and they discover two potential apprentices, the twins inside cutting everyone up involved. Thanoth realizes that they are losing more and more potential informants by the second, so he pulls one aside with Vader and he demands to know the location of the dragon. They get information out of him that the dragon is on Anoth 12, and Vader tells him, "That's a lie." So the man tells them that his mansion is on the lower reaches of Prime's eastward core, and then Vader reads him again. Truth. The twins come over as they have just finished cutting up everyone else in the bar, and they kill the informant. Thanoth flips out on them. How are we supposed to find the Plasma Devils if you kill everyone who knows where they are? And the twins tell them that they just made a name for themselves. They can't afford any of the usual weaknesses, implying Vader's weak. Meanwhile, Aphra and 000, her protocol droid, fly into the ultimate source of information, the Ante, to see if he can help them find this elusive person that Darth Vader wants. Thanoth leaves Vader to his own plans while he goes and talks to the dragon. He feels it'll be better and more subtle this way. While that information is good, Aphra discovers the individual that Darth Vader wanted, the person who prepared Senator Amidala's body for burial. Padme Amidala was Darth Vader's wife before all of this, before he became Darth Vader and when he was a young Jedi named Anakin Skywalker. But when Anakin was injured and placed into his suit and took the name of Darth Vader, he was informed by the Senator that Padme had died and the child she was carrying was lost. So Aphra wants to know, and the hologram of Padme's burial, she still appeared pregnant. But that's not true, is it? After much torture, the man admits she had a son. 000 steps forward and kills the man, followed by Aphra burning down his home and any chance of others finding out this information. Then, back on Anthem Prime, she informs Darth Vader. He was right. Amidala had a son. So Darth Vader informs Aphra that she needs to get back in touch with the Auntie again and find out the location of the boy that destroyed the Death Star. When she asks if they have any other problems, Vader tells her that his current partner is somewhat enthusiastic, but he suspects nothing, except for a small camera in the corner of their room. Things begin to ramp up quickly as Aphra goes back to the Auntie to begin discussing the matters on hand, but Thanoth comes to Vader informing him that he was just informed on the location of one of the most elusive black market dealers from the Dragon's data. Just as Aphra is getting her information and 000 is trying to kill the person that beat him in Holochess, the Empire comes marching in through a wall as they blow it up. The Auntie walks out to greet both Vader and Thanoth, and he makes an offer to Thanoth. If Thanoth lets him live, he'll tell him everything that they want to know. His library of knowledge is massive and contains far more than the location of the Plasma Devils. As a show of good faith, he gives up the information on the Devils. At that moment, Aphra makes a break for it and the stormtroopers open fire on the bar patrons trying to get her, and the Auntie points her out as the one who stole the credits in the heist, and Thanoth asks, who is she? So Vader uses the Force to move one of the bar patrons and have him shoot the Auntie. Thanoth sees the Auntie fall and calls it an unlucky stray shot. Then Vader walks off. Aphra runs as fast as she can, calling to 000 that he needs to get the ship ready, but eventually she goes through a door and Vader is there. Hi boss, I know this looks bad, but I can still get away. He doesn't want to hear it. He begins to Force choke her. Do not resist. As she is struggling to breathe, she gets out the words, I know where the boy is. So he drops her. Tell me. I will later. They walk towards her ship together and she tries to talk to him, but he tells her, silence. And he uses the Force to drop the ceiling right in front of the doorway. Thanoth runs over and he sees the rubble, and Vader informs him she had a trap arranged. But this isn't where the escape ends. The Auntie's base is located in an electrical storm, and now she has to outrun all of the TIE fighters and the command ship. Thanoth is filled with the desire to catch this woman and learn who is her informant, because she must be connected to the leak in the Empire. Vader takes this chance to inform Thanoth that this is pointless. They now have the location of the Plasma Devils. Why are they chasing this woman? And Thanoth agrees. The chase has consumed him. So they break their chase and they go to the Plasma Devils base to end the criminal slime in the sector. Vader then promptly took the strike force that they had built for the Auntie's base and eradicated the entire Plasma Devils team, before they all went back to General Tag to report the entire situation. Tag was displeased with the loss of the thief, but Vader took the blame, telling him, chasing a few coins or crushing the rebels, the choice was clear. Darth Vader then flies to an obscure planet to confront Aphra. She didn't run. She knew he'd find her if she did, and on top of that, this shows that she's trustworthy. As he arrives, he is surprised, and she explains she wants to work for him if he'll keep her alive. The past few days have given me an appreciation for talent. Do not make me regret this. So he takes the information as to where the young boy is, and he leaves to handle the situation on his own. Little does he know, this was all arranged by one of the potential apprentices of the Emperor. He was the one watching on the camera in the room, and he is the one who just set up Darth Vader. Darth Vader drops out of lightspeed in front of Vargas Voss, but in front of him are 3 squadrons of X-Wings. Aphra, this had better not be a trap. Then he senses them. They were not expecting him, and Luke Skywalker is here. X-Wings begin opening fire on Vader as he outmaneuvers them, and one by one he begins to drop the X-Wings, and they are in shock. Who is this pilot? Meanwhile, Aphra is trying to call Vader to see what's going on. He severed all communications. He continues dropping the X-Wings, and once they begin launching torpedoes at him, he uses the Force to redirect them and throw them back at their targets. The commanders are in shock. This is one man. How is he dropping all of them? But Vader was right. Luke is there, and he can sense him. It's Darth Vader. Do you have a visual confirmation on that, Red 5? I don't need it. It's him. It doesn't matter. He's grossly outnumbered and will surround him and coordinate an attack. I'm sorry, but we won't be able to stop him unless. And Luke breaks from formation and sends his X-Wing straight at Darth Vader. As he gets closer, Darth Vader prepares his maneuver, and then he senses Skywalker. So they crash into each other. Both the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter begin spiraling out of control as they fall into the orbit of the planet, and the Rebel Alliance reports, Vader down! Vader down! They then all fly down to the surface where there is a secret Rebel refueling base, and the base reports back to Princess Leia that they are mobilized
realize they had to get Vader, and Han looks at her. That's where Luke went, Princess. Vader is the priority here, Han. Yeah? Well, Vader isn't my priority. I'm gonna go save my friend. Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO all climb up onto the Millennium Falcon and they take off for Vargas Voss. Since she can't get a hold of Darth Vader, Aphra loads up with BT and 000 to find Darth Vader and explain she didn't arrange this trap. And back on the planet, Darth Vader isn't even slightly injured as he is destroying every Y-Wing that comes in to bomb him while he's walking towards Luke Skywalker. He will end this, and no Rebel Alliance will get in his way. But over with Luke, he can see the Y-Wings being taken out of the sky and he realizes this is his fault. So he decides he's gonna head for Darth Vader. He will end this finally! Vader continues walking until an entire army is around him and he pulls out his lightsaber. All I'm surrounded by is fear and death. Darth Vader starts by setting off the grenades on every soldier's chest, and then he deflects a tank blast with his lightsaber. The soldiers don't even stand a chance. Meanwhile, Han, Leia, Chewie, and C-3PO have all arrived, and they are briefing Leia on how bad the situation is, while Han gets information on Luke's last known location. And Aphra looks up the occupants of the ship that just arrived. Leia Organa, Princess Survivor of Alderaan. Han Solo, not solo, now in a team, and a smuggler of some manner. An R2 unit and a protocol droid. So she comes up with a plan to win back Darth Vader's favor as they land. And she spray paints 000 a brand new color. Luke finds himself walking through the ruins of the Jedi Temple, and he begins getting images of people who were here before him, like Ben Kenobi. When out of literally nowhere, C-3PO walks over. Master! R2 begins to freak out, and Luke tells him to calm down, it's only C-3PO. When suddenly, C-3PO shocks Luke. Luke hits the ground and Aphra walks out. She spray painted 000 gold. And now, they'll kill R2 as he steps up to protect Luke. R2 pulls out his zapper, telling Aphra, BT, and 000 to back off, so BT pulls out rockets, miniguns, and homing missiles. R2 promptly screams and flees as everything around him explodes. 000 picks up Luke and Aphra leads the way back to the ship, but as they leave, Han calls out for her to stop and drop the boy. He arrived and took a sniper position, but Aphra tells him, what is he going to do? If he shoots her, 000 will kill the boy. 000 then reports, Mistress Aphra, the smuggler Han Solo has a known associate, a Wookiee, and as he says that, Chewbacca rips the arms off of 000. Aphra leaps out of the way, taking shots at Han Solo, while Luke hits the ground and begins coming to his senses. He looks around and he sees R2 screaming as BT is chasing him, so as they come running past him, he gives BT a firm kick. That's enough out of you. But BT isn't done yet. He can fly and he opens fire on both Luke and R2. Meanwhile, Chewbacca is smacking 000 over and over with his own arm until 000 gets a free moment to inject a xenotox into Chewbacca, disorienting him. Over with Han and Aphra, neither can get a clear shot, and that's when Aphra sees a wasp worm nest over Han's head, and he sees one over her. They both shoot it and find themselves covered in wasp worms. They run out screaming and they literally smack into each other. Over with Chewbacca, 000 is preparing to drain him of his blood until Luke cuts off 000's other arm with his lightsaber. Luke, Chewbacca, and R2 all begin walking out of the area they were in, and they find Han and Aphra out cold on the ground. As they prepare to leave, BT and 000 walk back out. They aren't done, and with Aphra out cold, there's no one to give them orders, so they'll just kill everyone here. It's R2 that saves the day by squirting oil into BT's sensors, and he begins shooting everyone uncontrollably. While Luke, Han, Chewie, and R2 make a break for it, BT hits the rock face near them, burying both 000 and BT finally. Meanwhile, back with Leia, she's leading the next unit in its attack on Darth Vader, and while she thought she was sneaking up on him, he ended up sneaking up on her. You'll pay for everything that you've done. If not today, then one day. I know this. You misunderstand, Princess. Your end will not be like your precious Alderaan. That was far too swift. Then Vader stops. You think you can ambush a Dark Lord of the Sith? Leia sees her chance and she runs for it, calling Darth Vader crazy. But her fleeing was his plan. He wants her to tell everyone where he is so he can end this. She runs off and into C-3PO, who has her communicator, so she dials it in. Bomb the area with everything that they have and use her as the signal. Oh my princess, that'll be certain death. It is, and hopefully it will be for him as well. Tell Luke and Han, I'm sorry when you see them. Back with Luke and Han, they begin loading up into the Millennium Falcon and they call up Leia. But C-3PO answers and tells them that her plan is to sacrifice herself, when suddenly they are struck by another ship. Dr. Aphra called in a friend from their last adventure to stop Han, the bounty hunter Wookiee Chrysanthemum. Chewie jumps the other Wookiee and their battle begins, and seeing that they have it under control, Han tells Luke to go get Leia out of there now. They have this. But as Chrysanthemum lifts Chewie off the ground, Han looks a little worried. I hope. To make the situation even worse, BT and 000 aren't done yet, and the first thing they do is come across C-3PO, so 000 takes his arms. They're a pretty snug fit. They home in on Vader's location and they prepare to fire, and suddenly TIE fighters begin shooting them all down. The Imperial Army has arrived, led by Commander Carbon, the Emperor's potential apprentice that arranged this whole thing. Darth Vader steps up to him. Carbon, It's all making sense now, isn't it? How your rival set you up and used you to eliminate the rebels of Vargas Voss, so I could swoop in and claim the prize for myself. Go find the boy and take the princess as well.
No.
And with that, Darth Vader uses the Force to throw all of the troops back.
You will win no prizes today, Carbon, except a quick death.
And then they both leap into a lightsaber duel, while Leia makes a break for it.
Back with Chewie, he's getting beat on by the Wookiee until he's knocked unconscious and falls on top of Han.
The Wookiee walks over to Han Solo and breaks his gun and then throws Han away while he gets a rock ready to smash Chewie's head. R2 sees that this is gonna end badly for his friends, so he launches a needle at Chewie, giving him an adrenaline boost, and he smashes the rock over the other Wookiee's head. With his newfound strength, he pummels him over and over. Meanwhile, Luke finds himself in the path of the stormtroopers, and so do BT and 000, so they all begin to fight. And back with Darth Vader, Carbon isn't even a match for Vader as he's cutting off his limbs one at a time. He runs and hides, and that's when Vader hears the voices of ghosts, of Obi-Wan telling him that he's failed. He has become the thing that he hates. Seeing Vader going crazy, Carbon jumps in and begins throwing Vader back. Chewie begins beating on the bounty hunter Wookiee again until he finally gets an uppercut and takes down Chewie. He then reaches out and grabs Han by the throat. Back with Vader, he's beginning to win again, and while he is, Leia is still there aiming a pistol at Vader's head. But C-3PO is calling for her, asking for her help. Han, Chewie, Luke, and R2, everyone's in trouble and they need her. Her friends need her. So, she lowers her pistol and tells him to hold on, she's on the way. Darth Vader begins getting his own call at this point. Afra is telling him that Carbon's guys have Skywalker and they are loading him up onto their ship. And realizing that Leia told him to hold on till she gets there, C-3PO gets right in the path of one of the Wookiee's punches, allowing the Wookiee to punch through C-3PO's chest, electrocuting the Wookiee and disabling C-3PO. Darth Vader realizes that he needs to end the fight with Carbon quickly, so he stops fighting and uses the Force to lift Afra's ship up and throw it at Carbon. Afra begins to panic as she loses control and she ejects out of the ship in a hurry. So boss, you cost me a ship. Am I back in your good graces?
It all depends on the boy.
Vader then spies the Imperial ship leaving with Luke and he holds it in place, causing it to crash. Han sees it landing. The kid's the luckiest. Let's move. And everyone heads to Luke's location. As they get there, Luke is overjoyed to see Han and everyone. And that's when Afra gets there. None of you are leaving. Vader wants you. And she calls him up. Luke looks at her. You're with Vader? You don't know anything, do you? Han asks her. Oh, the things I could tell you. So, Leia knocks her out. She says she knows some things, so let's bring her. They all load back up on the Millennium Falcon, and they take off into space with Vader looking at them as they leave. Luke is sad because he knows that he'll never be able to get back to that temple, and there is probably so much that it could have told him. But that is the end of Vader Down, and our heroes are all back on their own adventures.
Darth Vader is back assisting the Empire with conquering the worlds within the galaxy. His journey now brings him to SHO-TORUN, a mining world. He lands, and he's immediately off to a bad start.
You have disappointed me, Princess Trios. This is unwise. I was expecting your father.
Princess Trios explains that her father is getting older in his age and is waiting at the ceremonial ball to greet Darth Vader. Then she sees him carrying a box, and she tells Vader her servants can help with that.
No, this is a gift for SHO-TORUN's ruler. I will deliver it personally. A reminder that the Empire is both a powerful friend and a dangerous threat.
But there is more going on than a simple visit from Darth Vader to ensure that a mining facility increases its production, because once everyone leaves, 2 droids step out of the ship, BT and 000, 2 killer droids created by Dr. Afra before she was captured by the rebels.
Quickly, BT, quickly. This is an extremely important mission. We must not fail.
BT whistles back.
No, you can't just shoot everyone. We need to be more subtle. I've brought my poisons.
Darth Vader and Princess Trios walk into the grand hall where the festivities are going on, and the dancing has begun.
This dancing is unnecessary.
You must understand, Lord Vader. SHO-TORUN is a courtly culture. They walk down while Trios explains the demands of the Empire are crippling, and these ceremonies are her father's methods to keep the Dukes happy and their egos compliant. Meanwhile, BT and 000 have entered the palace and quickly discover a lock. 000 sees a fellow droid and asks for some assistance, but the droid refuses, stating that they do not have access. So he grabs the droid, informing BT that he doesn't torture droids, only the fleshy types. He removed the droid's pain receptors before stripping his data core. I'm not a savage after all. Back at the dance, one of the Dukes walks to Vader, insisting that he dance, because in SHO-TORUN, it is an insult not to dance. Vader looks at him.
Very well, let us.
And he lifts the Duke off the ground using the Force, and then he throws him back into the ground, to the horror of the individuals at the ball.
Do any others wish to be my partner?
No one replies, and then the ceiling is broken into as a ship crash lands into it. Soldiers rush out, announcing death to the Empire, but Vader barely moves before deflecting the shots back at them with one hand, killing all all of them. Then as Princess Trios looks at the dead soldiers, Vader informs her.
I will see the king immediately.
She tells him that they need to pass through the tunnels as the traitorous dukes will be watching the elevators, and she'll show him the way. Meanwhile, in the throne room, the king is furious that it has come to this. Trios was such a good daughter. It's going to be a shame to lose her in a tragic accident. But while he declares this, BT and 000 are standing next to him, and 000 offers him a refreshing beverage to watch this tragic accident. They walk through the tunnels, and Vader watches as the sides seal up, trapping both Trios and Vader.
Your father should be proud.
The lava begins to pour into the chamber as he continues.
You show an admirable willingness to sacrifice for the greater good.
He then cuts a hole into the side of the chamber and knocks out Trios, throwing her onto his shoulder as he uses the new disc that he cut out to stand on and be carried away. Back in the throne room, the king is furious. Impossible! Seal the doors immediately. He'll be coming for us. And 000 asks again, would you like a relaxing drink, as it can be a real tonic for a bad day? And the king knocks the whole tray of drinks over. This is no time for drinks. 000 turns to BT. Why did the fleshy ones make everything so difficult? Very well, BT, you win. He did spill my drinks after all. Princess Trios wakes up right outside of the throne room with Darth Vader standing over her. She sees what's going on and that Vader is about to enter the throne room and murder her family. So she pulls out a blaster only to have her hand cut off. Vader, without a word, turns back, opening the doors with Trios pleading for him not to kill her father. But that's when she sees the horrors of what has happened in the whole room, as it's covered in smoke and death. 000 sees them entering and declares, "Oh, there's been a terrible accident! Mass heart attacks!" Trios runs over to the throne, kneeling before her father. No, 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 no! Well, it was almost true, BT. You did shoot their hearts. Vader walks over to Trios, kneeling before her fallen father.
Your Majesty, this is yours,
he says, presenting the box to her. As it hits the ground, it shatters, revealing a rock. I don't understand. What is it?
As a princess, you served your father. As a queen, you will serve your people. This is a small reminder of what happens to those who resist the Emperor. This is all that remains of Alderaan.
In shock, Trios drops the rock, and then Vader, using his force powers, lifts the crown off of her father and places it onto her head. As he leaves, he tells her,
"Do not forget whom you serve."
Vader returned from his mission on SHO-TORUN with a gift for the Emperor, the dead body of Carbon, one of Silu the Surgeon's newest experiments. He's the individual that gave Darth Vader his cybernetics, and Carbon is one of the potential replacements for Darth Vader himself. Vader finally defeated him while searching for the rebel pilot that destroyed the Death Star in the book, Vader Down. The Emperor looks at the body. Are these lightsaber wounds, Vader?
You wish me to prove myself. Give me a fight worthy of my time.
Well, you are in luck. Despite our warning, the Ore Barons of SHO-TORUN are rebelling. I require full military intervention, and you will bring the Empire's assistance to Queen Trios. Vader turns to leave.
It will be done.
One more thing. At General Tag's insistence, Silu will be joining you in this task.
Why?
There is a reason. You are the student and I am the master. All will be explained when you return. Show your merit, Vader. A short time later, Vader is on the planet with Queen Trios at his side. With the Empire supporting the endeavor, Vader manages to use the Force to destroy the entire mining operation and deflect the shots back at the soldiers, killing them. Trios tells Vader that they can never win in a full frontal assault, so he turns to the Void Gazer, one of the remaining Silu experiments, and asks her to use her droids to destroy the ceiling of the mine, dumping hot molten lava on the entire building. Trios facepalms, informing Vader and Void Gazer that that was a delving citadel, built centuries ago, and it will be irreplaceable. It will never be in production again.
It will never rebel again,
Vader says as he walks back to the palace. Once they return, Silu asks if Void Gazer did well, and Vader tells him
she was adequate.
But Trios barges into the room demanding to know Vader's plan, and he informs her,
"After today, we'll see who is submitting, and if they don't, I will repeat the demonstration."
She tries to argue against him, but Vader cuts her off.
"All you must do is obey, Queen Trios."
And then he leaves her there with everyone snickering at the Queen's authority being challenged. She follows him into a dark room, telling him, "We are not finished, Lord Vader. I have Queen here."
"You are. Remember who made you so."
"I have the Empire's yoke around me. For my people's sake, they must think I'm queen. If you treat me so in front of my subordinates, do you think that they will obey me when you leave?" Vader stares her down.
"I will treat you with the illusion of respect, as long as you do not dream to question me in public again."
"It's a deal."
"No, it is simply how it will be."
Trios leaves the room and Vader turns to the reason he entered it. Standing in the communicator is a series of bounty hunters. Vader wants them to find Dr. Aphra. She's been taken prisoner by the rebels and he can't have her talking.
Bring her back, dead or alive.
If you're curious as to where Dr. Aphra actually is right now, watch our video, Star Wars Rebel Jail. The Ore Barons are about to take Vader's threat lightly though, as a submarine rises out of the molten magma, prepared to open fire on the palace itself. A nearby pilot calls out for the Queen, Vader, and the twins to join him in the escape. The twins are 2 more of Silu's creations. Vader walks over to the ship, throwing the pilot out of it, telling him,
Escape? I think not.
He then flies the ship to the submarine where he leaps out of it and tells the twins,
Follow me if you dare.
They cut a hole into the sub and they begin to walk through, murdering everyone in their path. And once they reach the core, they begin slicing it up, and the twins ask Vader, how will we escape?
By leaving the ship swiftly. If you are incapable of that, it is no concern of mine.
It begins to sink into the molten magma, and Vader jumps out onto the ship that they took with the twins. Once they return, Vader tells them,
The Barons have made their position clear. It is time to repeat the lesson.
and Trios tells him that that was Rubik's vessel. Back with Silu, he isn't exactly here to help Vader. General Tag radios in and they discuss the matter. How Vader has no precision, and while he's good at winning battles, he isn't good at winning the war. He asks Silu to end this battle favorably and to make sure the Empire wins, not Vader. Back in Vader's quarters, Aelin drops in to ask Vader to help her kill her brother and train her, but Vader informs her.
You are mistaken. There is no future for either of you.
And he walks out to find one of the bounty hunters that he sent out for Dr. Aphra. The hunter claimed that he found Aphra dead, but Vader knew that it wasn't Aphra, so he murdered the bounty hunter for lying to him. Back with Silu, he radios into the Ore Baron's quarters to inform them that if they work with him, he can give them Vader. But none of that matters at the moment, as Vader grabs up Trio's soldiers and the twins to begin his final assault on Rubik's headquarters. As they burrow into the crust of the planet trying to get to Rubik's mining delve, Vader's ship is automatically steered off course and sent away from the army that he brings with him. When it lands at its location, he sees countless soldiers prepared to kill him and his troops, as it was a trap devised by Silu. He orders his men to activate the siege defenses, and the battle against Rubik's men begins. The doors open and Vader sends the twins and his stormtroopers out to begin, but 000, one of the droids that's with Vader, has a better idea, and he steps into the back to wake up the droids. The droids pop their heads out of the windows and they begin opening fire on all of the fleshy ones. Vader knows that he can push back all of these troops, and with them all here, Trios can take the main base if she pushes now. Except he discovers that he has no communication with her. At that moment, Silu continues his plan to trap Vader by radioing Trios to tell her to stop her attack. They don't have Vader. Vader hears about the soldiers turning around, but the jam continues and he can't explain that he's alive and murdering hundreds of Rubik's men. That's when one of his troops tells him that they are overwhelmed, they can't win this, and 000 has an idea. What if they turn the droids into droids fueled by blood? What a terrifying sight indeed for those fleshy ones. But Vader shrugs him off. Back at Trios, everyone tells her not to push the attack, and the Chancellor informs her that he will not allow her to continue. So she has him arrested and orders her troops to push the attack on Rubik's. Back with Vader, he has an idea and he takes the twins with him to a rock bridge over the magma. Seeing their chance, the twins turn on him, leaping at him. But Vader senses it coming and he turns his lightsaber to his back to block them. I can't believe you trusted us.
If I trusted you, I would have left you at the siege. Instead, I tested your character. You failed.
Back at the siege, 000 takes it on himself to give a rousing speech. We are a sheet of titanium, reinforced steel, protecting our meaty masters. You may think us doomed. There are many. We are so few and surrounded. You may think that we have no hope. And you're right, because I definitely haven't implanted you with cyber syringes to drain the blood from your foes and grow strong from their scarlet fluids. If I'd done that, they'd be doomed. The droids all begin to cheer, Hail 000! Slay the meaty ones! And the soldiers around them begin to get scared. Back at the bridge, Vader with one hand continues to push back the twins, and Aelin fires an explosive, shattering the bridge and separating them from Vader. She turns to her brother. We can't beat Vader. I don't think we can ever beat him. And Morit, her brother, pushes her into the lava. He then turns to Vader, telling him, the field thins until we meet again. Vader uses the Force to pull Aelin out of the lava, and he places his cape on her to cool her and soothe her from the pain.
Your pain will soon pass. Tell me everything now.
Silu, he collaborated with the Ore Barons. Take my memory chip as proof of everything. Thank you, Lord Vader. I am But once he had the information that he needed, he killed her with his saber and he left. Vader returns to the siege where he finds all of the soldiers have surrendered due to a fear of blood-sucking robots. Then, with news that Trios is assaulting Rubik's main base, Vader takes his team and joins the fray, winning the mining delve for her. With victory in their grasp, Vader confronts Rubik's in his palace and he asks him,
Would you like to dance?
Trios arrives with her soldiers, and while Rubix tries to argue, Trios orders his execution. Then pointing to his youngest daughter, she informs her, "You will be the new Baron." The girl tries to explain that that is not the order of succession, and Trios tells her, "That does not matter. Your brother will be overjoyed with your new position." As Trios and Vader walk away, he asks her,
Why?
"I've found inexperienced youths not expecting power to be most easy to manipulate, Lord Vader."
You are correct.
Vader then heads to his ship to return to the Emperor and report what happened, and Trio asks him, "As the Queen of SHO-TORUN, did you choose me well?" Vader pauses, and then he answers,
There was no other choice.
000 walks up behind her. "One can't help to note that could have been taken multiple ways." "Yes, I know." "He could have been implying that you're excellent, or that you—" "I know. Leave, droid. I cannot destroy him, but I can destroy you." 000 then says one final thing before boarding the ship. "With the greatest of respect, Queen Trios, you will go far."
In deep space, Lord Darth Vader begins to get ready to meet with the Inspector Thanoth regarding the whereabouts of Dr. Aphra. Just before heading out, he first must visit with Emperor Palpatine aboard the superstar destroyer, the Executor. The Emperor tells Vader, "Long ago, there are many Sith that rose up against the shimmering light. They warred with the Jedi, and also lost as they warred amongst themselves. For thousands of years, they kept to the shadows, not in fear of the Jedi, but rather themselves. But now, you are the first to restore the Sith to their rightful place. The galaxy was set aflame, and all the weakness and impurity turned to ash, with Darth Maul being a loss, and Darth Tyrannus being that of a photon torpedo. It is time for the superior candidate to rise. For the Empire to live, Darth Vader had to live. To make that happen, many scientists were brought in, Silu being among them. Silu had made others, but the true apprentice would just frustrate the copies. Eventually, driven by pride and desperation, Silu would go too far. Now, he is simply a traitor. Silu must be found and destroyed. Vader turns to leave and he tells him,
As you wish, Master.
Now, you're probably just now joining us, but this is a series of Darth Vader comic books that we have already covered. A series in which the other apprentices were brought forth and Darth Vader needed to prove himself. But now, all of that is in the past. It is time to take out Silu. Later on Anthon 13, Vader lands his TIE fighter and heads into a dark cave. With only the light coming off of his lightsaber, Inspector Thanoth speaks from the shadows stating, "I've always admired your punctuality, so let me be the first to say thank you for this little chat." Vader holds out his lightsaber directly asking,
Where is she?
and Thanoth says, "Dr. Aphra, Lord Vader? Let us call her by her name. She is your agent, after all." Once again, since you're probably just joining us, during this series of events in which Darth Vader was trying to fight against Silu, and he was trying to prove himself to the Emperor once again, he had an agent working for him, an individual who was in secret helping him achieve his goals. Her name was Dr. Aphra, but she's now been discovered, and as he always told her, if she was discovered, he would kill her. Vader points his lightsaber at Thanoth's face, demanding to know,
Where is she?
and Thanoth tells him things would go so much quicker if you would just cut the blusters. "I am not afraid of you." Ever so slowly, Vader pulls away, telling him,
Say your piece, and make it quick.
Thanoth explains that he knows that he is looking for that boy, Skywalker, to train him in your ways and supplant the Emperor. Once again, just helping you guys bridge the gap. This story is taking place between episodes 4 and 5 of the actual movie series. Meaning, Darth Vader is now aware of Skywalker, but he doesn't know who he is, and he hasn't met with him yet. Aphra needs to be removed to ensure the Emperor never discovers your plans. Why, one would ask? Primarily because the Emperor is weak, and Darth Vader would be better for the Empire, wouldn't you? Dr. Aphra is located on the Cosmotanic Steps. It has been a pleasure, Anakin. Without saying anything further, Vader pulls out his lightsaber and he swings, leaving only Thanos' cane to fall to the ground. As Vader walks back out of the cave, the droid 000 asks, "Are we on corpse disposal again?" Vader tells him,
I have business with the scientist. Aphra is on the Cosmotanic Steps. Follow her to the Executor. If unable to, silence her. These are your priority orders.
000 then says, "By ourselves, that would be somewhat tricky. But luckily, me and BT have just made a number of friends, so we should be fine." Vader then boards his TIE fighter and he takes off as BT beeps. 000 tells him, "I don't think Master Vader is going to bring back Silu." BT beeps again, and 000 says, "Yes, it is a shame. I would have loved to torture him to death again." Over at the Cosmotanic Steps, Aphra enters one of the bars stating that the best thing about multi-sun systems is that the no drinks before noon rule is way easier to follow.
The bartender pours her a drink and tells her, I can sense when someone's hiding, especially when someone has not given me her name. What is it that you're hiding from? Can't be that bad. Just outside of the city, 000 and BT land, and the Twi'lek man welcomes him, stating that they may want to be careful. Droids aren't too popular in these parts. 000 tells him, I dare say that they'll be considerably less popular by the time that we are finished. Would you have seen this woman? A small hollow image of Afra appears over BT and the man says maybe. Would they have anything for him to make it worth his while? BT pulls out a blaster and 000 asks, if you like being alive, because answering our question would keep you in that blessed state. The man stumbles back stating that he saw her head into the bar, and 000 tells him, excellent, as BT shoots him. BT beeps and 000 says, answering did keep him alive, just not very long it would seem. Now let us begin our search. Back in the bar, the sounds of people being shot can be heard, and as Afra looks out the window, she can see things being destroyed by 000's droid army. She pokes her head out, shouting, asking, what are you doing? And 000 tells her, eliminating witnesses. Master Vader was very specific about making sure that you haven't spread word to anyone. BT then fires at Afra, and as she looks back out, she yells, the rebels captured me and I escaped. I didn't tell anyone anything. 000 says, that is excellent news! I am sure that you will find not telling anyone a far less demanding task once you are safely disposed of. BT starts priming his blasters and Afra says, wait, I'm your master, stand down! And BT begins to fire as 000 recites the first rule of protocol. We have a priority order from our other master. We must deal with our priority order before progressing to anything else. BT then begins to shoot at the bar, and Afra yells, wait, what was the specific order? And 000 says that it was to take her to the executor to await Master Vader. Failing that, silence her. Afra thinks about it for a moment and then says, okay, I surrender. 000 sighs, telling the droids to stand down, and then tells Afra, you really do take the fun out of everything. Meanwhile, back in space, Vader's Star Destroyer, the Devastator, closes in on Silu's whale fleet and quickly dispatches all of the TIE fighters to attack. As they begin to engage, one of the whales separates from the group and releases a charge into the Devastator. Within seconds, the entire Star Destroyer is rendered disabled, and one of the TIE fighters reports that the fleet is going to escape. Vader tells them that they are mistaken, and after firing a hole into the side of one of the ships, he pulls out his thrusters to max as he aims straight for it. The flagship makes the jump into hyperspace, and Morridge reports that they have lost the Imperials in transit too, but Void Gazer stops them, stating problem. They have an unauthorized boarding, a single TIE advanced fighter. Silu leans back, stating, of course we do. Morridge, take the troops in. Void Gazer stops him, telling him no. Vader will come through the labs, allow her to take the opportunity to study the Sith Lord in close quarters. Silu tells her, very well, I'm going to be looking forward to that report. A short while later, over at the labs, Vader pops the hatch from his fighter and he walks through, but Void Gazer stops him, telling him that she's afraid his journey ends here. Vader asks her,
You are but a scientist. Do you think you can stand against the Dark Lord of the Sith?
The door shuts, separating the two, and Void Gazer says, perhaps not, but there is no need when I have science. You've beaten the SABER element enough, but what about a Rancor? Over at the Executor, 000 and BT fly Afra in as 000 tells her that if he could be so bold, she's going to regret her decision to surrender. As the stormtroopers begin to take her away, she says, wait a moment, all you had to do was bring me safely here, right? 000 says, that's correct, nice and safely doomed. Afra then says, that would mean that your priority order from Vader is complete. Now your new priority order is get me the hell out of here! BT beeps and 000 sighs, stating, how annoying. Back at the Void Gazer's lab, she watches as the Rancor backs Vader into a corner. The Rancor strikes, but as it does, Vader swings his lightsaber, cutting off a piece of the Rancor's claw. Void Gazer then says, the neural dampeners are holding no pain response from my Rancor. The Rancor begins to charge, knocking Vader into the wall, and as he gets back up, he holds out his hand, stating, that is enough. He focuses and tries to force choke the Rancor, but it doesn't stop moving and it knocks him away again. Void Gazer says that the plate-reinforced thorax is maintaining integrity. Excellent force choke protection. Vader gets back up, telling her,
that is quite impressive.
And he slices away at the Rancor's stomach, doing very little and stopping it. Void Gazer tells him that this is a beautiful creation. The SABER animate system bridges directly to the Rancor's brain, allowing for complete circumvention of weakness. Vader pauses for a moment and then he throws his lightsaber up and into the Rancor's mouth, where it shoots upward into its brain. Seconds later, the lightsaber falls out and with it, a dead Rancor. Vader carves into the giant Rancor body to kill it, telling Void Gazer,
there is much that you understand, but you know little about the Force.
The doorway to Void Gazer is then ripped off as Void Gazer steps out with several of her droids, stating that she has no interest in his superstition. She trusts in science. The droids begin to fire, and as Vader deflects the attacks, he begins to use the Force again, and one of the droids stops firing. It turns and aims at Void Gazer, and then it fires. She falls to the ground laughing, stating, "Haha, well played, but it is already too late. My legacy will continue on, and to think, I have General Tag to thank. Back when we were chasing those criminals who stole that fortune, where do you think Tag had placed me?" Over at the Executor, Tag begins giving orders to fire at the oncoming fleet, and as he does, smoke begins to seep into the vents. It is only for a few moments before everyone on board is knocked out, and Void Gazer goes on stating that she did what Tag wanted in improving the Executor, but she did add some features of her own. Vader takes out his lightsaber and he holds it over Void Gazer's neck, and then he pushes down before walking off. He then heads into the control room where he finds that Silo has already escaped, and there's a warning coming from the terminal stating that they are on a collision course. No override is possible. Over at the Executor, Silo says that it's a shame to lose her. She was a fine vessel, but she will be remembered as the weapon that ended Darth Vader. As the whale ship flies closer, it crashes into the Star Destroyer, blowing it to pieces. Silo then says that is enough mourning. Our new flagship awaits. Soon, all of the TIE fighters begin to turn back and fire on the Executor, and as they get close, it releases an ion charge that shuts down the power of all units in pursuit. Silo watches as the TIE fighters drift off, and then he says that they now need to set a course for it, but as he says that, the power shuts off, and Silo shouts asking, "What just happened?" Mord scans the terminal and says that the engines are dead, and then a transmission comes in. Vader tells them,
You have lost control of your engines. There will be no escaping. I am coming for you.
Mord asks how. They just saw him, and Silo tells him it matters not how, but that he is. Vader must not survive any longer. Mord shouts to let him be the one to destroy him, and Silo says no. It would seem that they have especially precious cargo. The guards will bring the Emperor in while he goes to reroute the engines, but avoid Vader at all costs. Silo then looks at the switch in his hand, stating that if all else fails, he risks the alternative. A few moments later, Morad gets onto the surface of the Star Destroyer to make his way to the engine room, and then a voice calls out that he's quicker than they thought.
But just as predictable.
Morad pulls out his lightsaber, stating that he always knew that it would end like this. The old versus the new. And Vader tells him,
You are correct, child.
Morad leaps swinging at Vader, but as he passes by, Vader slices into the thrusters on Morad's feet. Morad loses control for a brief moment, and then he catches himself before missing, drifting off into space. Vader then holds out his hand, detaching the piece of metal that Morad is standing on, allowing Morad's body to float into the planet's gravitational pull. As he screams over the intercom, Silo tells all of the troops on the bridge, now. A few moments later, Vader walks down the hallway of the bridge, easily destroying the droids on his way through until there is none to stand between him and Silo. Vader walks towards him, telling him,
Your machines are insufficient.
And Silo says, Perhaps, but you forget, you're one of my machines too. Silo presses the button in his hand and suddenly Vader stops moving. He looks at the switch, stating that he's been holding onto this for 20 years. He had wondered what rose from that operating table that day. Was it a machine or a man? And it's finally good to have that answer. Silo then places his hand on Vader's helmet, telling his men to go ahead and continue with the plan. Vader is no longer a threat. As Vader is locked in position, he thinks back of how this all began, back when he fought Obi-Wan Kenobi. He told Obi-Wan that if he loved him, he would have killed him. And that Obi-Wan did just that, throwing him into the lava. However, what came back was Anakin in his new form. He was more powerful than ever before, but still, he fought his own shadow of his former self. And while Vader dwells in this past, his body begins to shake. The mental chains around Vader begin to tighten and pull, and instead of restraining, they break free. Silo watches as his deactivated creation begins to move, and without saying a word, Vader uses his lightsaber to stab into Silo's chest. The only thing that Silo can ask is how, and Vader tells him,
Nothing is impossible for the Force.
Over in the whale fleet, a man emerges from a test tube screaming and says that Vader killed Silu 5. Somehow, Silu 6 has to escape. As control of the Executor returns to the Imperials, Palpatine asks Vader if there's any remaining problems, and Vader tells him,
Just one, but it is being dealt with.
Palpatine then says, Good. Do so in return. There is much to discuss. Then the door to Palpatine's room opens, and Alpha tells him, Emperor Highness Master Sir, I have things that you need to know. Out in space, Vader fights his way through the whale fleet until he crashes into the flagship whale where the new Silo is staying.
Silo tells his men that all Marines on the anterior docking bay stop Vader at all cost. However, Vader walks through the defenses, hardly acknowledging that there was any resistance. As Vader enters the lab, all of the other Silo clones break out of their tubes, taunting Vader that he is immortal now. He has as many lives as he needs. Vader slaughters them, telling Silo,
You are wrong. The fact that I can kill you repeatedly is by far your most appealing trait.
Next, Vader heads to the control room to find Silo again, and Silo says that there is nothing that he can do. He has transcended the laws of nature and the trap of the Force. He has made himself immortal. Vader holds out his hand, telling him,
And I will make you ash. You will fly into the sun.
Silo laughs, telling him that his mind is protected against such Force trickery. And Vader tells him,
I wasn't speaking to you.
beneath the men's feet is a brain. The brain of the whale ship that they are currently on. The brain begins to pulse and the whale turns its direction towards the sun. Silo runs to the controls shouting, No! This isn't happening! This is my machine! I am the master here! As Silo watches, he flies towards the sun and Vader makes his escape moments before the whale burns and destroys itself. A short while later, back at the Executor, Vader tells Palpatine that Silo has been dispatched. Is there anything else that he requires? Palpatine smiles, telling him, I was hoping for a full report, but your aide has been filling in the gaps. Afra waves, asking Vader, Why did you never introduce me to your boss? The Emperor is one hell of a guy. Palpatine goes on stating, wanting to create an empire within the Empire, securing finances by open robbery from Imperial treasuries, covering up the crime by slaughtering those who expose you. Afra nudges Vader, stating, Oh boy, you're in trouble now. But instead of being angry, Palpatine tells Vader, That is most impressive. Let your anger and pride guide you into the darkest places. That is our way. He gets up and tells Vader, Meet me on the bridge after you've talked to your assistant. As Palpatine leaves, Vader begins to leave, telling Afra,
Walk with me.
The two head into the airlock, and Afra tells him, You've got to understand, I needed to betray you because you didn't leave me any other options. As she goes on, Vader opens the airlock and tells her,
Enter.
She cries, No! You promised me that it would be the Saber! Nice and quick, you promised! Vader throws her into the airlock and slams it, stating,
I promised you nothing.
And then he hits the switch. The hatch opens and Afra's body is sucked into space with no equipment. Afterwards, Vader heads over to the bridge where Palpatine says, Due to General Tag's failings, the Executor is now under the command of Lord Vader. As Palpatine leaves, he tells Vader, Tag has been demoted. I leave him in your hands. Tag begins to try and explain himself about what happened with Voidgazer, but Vader force chokes him, asking the Admiral,
How long will it take to get the Executor repaired and operational?
The Admiral says that it will be roughly a month, and Vader tells him,
You have 2 weeks.
The Admiral tells him that it's impossible, the workforce would, but Vader stops him, stating,
You sound suspiciously like General Tag over there.
The Admiral sighs, stating, The Executor will be ready, Lord Vader. As Vader leaves, he looks out into space, imagining the moment that Luke will finally take his hand. However, the story doesn't end there. There's a body floating in space. A nearby spacecraft spots the body, and after BT beeps, 000 tells him, I'm not sure how long a human can stay alive in the hard vacuum, but we must get Afra on board quickly. Once the airlocks open, 000 asks if she's alive, and after a few coughs, she says maybe. Luckily for her, Vader isn't kind. But that was fun. Let's never do that again. And there you have it, Darth Vader, the full story. Now, Star Wars is a favorite of mine. I have loved almost everything within this universe. But recently, the fan backlash has been pretty harsh, and I've been debating going back into doing some Star Wars comic books with the new movie coming out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below if you want me to start doing Star Wars comic books again, and if you do, we'll go ahead and get to it. And if you really don't care, we'll stick with Marvel and DC books. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time right here.